Good morning, or hello, or afternoon, or whatever it may be. Welcome to your lesson 15 for a Radio 2H Radio 2 part-timers. So switch off oh, my, oh, oops, fan is making so much noise. Word. Okay. Awkward intro, right? Voice and performance is today's lesson over here. Comes from the Beyond Powerful Radio textbook, and it's on it comes from chapter 6, Performance and Formatics, page 44 to 64. All right. So it's a slightly long lesson, as you can see there, 25 slides, but it'll move quite quickly. And again, as we just said there, just make sure that you got your textbook with you and that you're following along. Don't forget to, or don't overlook the importance of having your textbook and seeing these slides and looking at, yeah, the information is here, right? But having a read through your textbook is going to give you more insight, obviously deeper insight into that. Just excuse if I do have some type of issues, just pronunciation, still struggling from recovery with the stroke. Okay, doing my best. I'll do my best for you. Right, doing my best. Because that's superfluous. Me saying that for you. It is you included, right? Anyway, let's look at some quotes that start off here. William Teacher said, "To escape criticism, do nothing, say nothing, and be nothing." But Jesus said, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. And if you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will then destroy you." How does that make sense to, or how does that apply, should I say, to performance, Well, again, one, to be self-critical all the time is to be able to, again, coming just from someone that, and all of us are self-critical at throughout, should I say, our lives. And for myself, it's very good to know the balance of good criticism and then like really scathing, hurtful, and kind of like unproductive criticism to yourself. And when I look at these two particular sayings, to escape criticism, do nothing. It says to me, and also when Jesus says that, like put yourself into what you want to do, and bring forth what it is within you. Like do your best. You can never say to yourself afterwards, you can't, well, I say never, it's true actually. It relieves you from that situation where you're going to say afterwards, oh, you know what, well, did I do this? Did I do that? Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Last words are full thank you, people night. You know, um, just to be able to say, look, tried my best, did my best, put in my best, and then I moved. I can move along. You're not going to we won't get everything in life, that's for sure. And but we do know that we can always try our best. So the difference between accomplished professionals and talented neophytes, okay, neophytes, so new to subject or activity, kind of like yourself. Excuse me. Oh, so many things that are coming through my throat and chest at the moment, anyway, is that seasoned air talent always gives you the feeling that they are in control. No matter what happens, it does feel like that, or it does sound like that when you're not watching them. But again, it's years and years and years of being in the same environment and having experienced many different aspects or context of pressures and inputs and outputs of that particular environment. So we're calling that the studio, right? And everything that happens in there, and what happens on air from there. And that if you've been on air for that long, you should by now know how to kind of octopus your way around that. So you can imagine an octopus with its eight arms or legs, or whatever it is, tentacles, right? Is the correct word. And the octopus is in the studio, it's you, and you managing phone lines, and you are managing the desk, and you managing your, the mics for you and your guests, and you've got the WhatsApp lines, you've got like ISDN lines, and whatever it may be. It's not just about the desk itself; it's about using the environment, the studio, in a way that, like an octopus would, can use all eight arms, and everything's working really well. Takes a bit of practice though. And this I always say, radio is really difficult to how can I say, not to learn. Learn is easy. You can learn anything you put your mind to it, but to really control and kind of like conquer, it's difficult. But once you do it, everything else is really easy. Gravitating through the actual medium, as well as being a conduit for information, and being the presenter, and being a producer, and whatever it may be, and actually doing the show, is really easy as long as you get through that really difficult, challenging part in the beginning with your formative and say I say your formative growth within the actual process. That's hard, and that's not because I want to make the subject so difficult. It's not that. It really is. It's confusing and it's uncomfortable, um and it's nothing like you've experienced before. No situation in your life, or within corporate or another medium or whatever, is comfortable enough for you to say, "Oh no, I feel I feel like I know this already," and you're gonna say to me, "Oh, well, podcasts might be the thing." Yeah, I suppose so. Maybe to some extent, but not really. Then you're not controlling a live medium. And again, it's so much more complex. Sidebar. Don't want to make it out to seem so special, but I guess things that are really unique are considered by definition special. So you can escape certain traps by practicing a few elements or elementary performance points. And there are things that you can do to self-control should the show begin to take a turn for the worse. When that does happen, yeah, well, I still laugh because obviously that happens throughout your entire career. It just doesn't stop. The shows are going to fall flat sometimes, and the studio is going to go berserk, and you're going to go berserk. And the best thing that you can actually do is kind of like stop, collaborate, and kind of listen and watch and see what is going on around you, and then take a deep breath and try to take back control. Performance points. So, number one, pick topics about which you really care, sure, for, because you have to have buy-in into into what it is that you'd like for your listeners to actually care about, right? So imagine anything that you'd like to say to somebody else, you are saying with purpose, right? And you are saying because there's a reason inside you that you feel strongly enough to be able to communicate, or once again, like pass on information from one vessel to another, like you to another person or a group of people, um whatever it may be, right? So we can't when we are interested, I want to add on here, we need to also know that it has to be something that the listeners care about at the same time. It by no means can just be us. If I picked out everything that I loved, I cared about in my life, why would I be talking only about my sisters and my mom and dad, for example, on air all the time? That makes no sense. It's silly. It sounds silly, right? And then I'd bring in, let's say, my pet tortoises, which I've had for 25 years and onwards, like all eight, I think it's eight of them, right? Anyway, but like, so because I care about them, clearly, they're not great pets. I'm just gonna say, by the way, they don't care about you, that's for sure. But what a boring show. Like I'm really boring myself as well as I speak about it. No, so it means like, for example, like this week, I'm doing a small piece on stagnancy, right? So it's you stagnating in your life and being able to know. that what stagnation actually looks like and what, let's say, healthy, like a healthy approach to being able to sit in one place and be able to do your work or be able to build on relationships and build on whatever it is. And so I'm doing a small piece on that. Well, is it important to me? Yes, because it's important to my listener, because we are looking at being able to, in any way that we open our mouth at the station, be able to empower somebody and really make, talk about small things or big things that are important to help them move on, right? And then I've got like obviously a bit of a cool sound bite to add in there and kind of add some three dimension, as well, third dimension. I'll put it up on social media as well. The thing is that this is going to be more important to my listener than my tortoises are, right? Okay, anyway, so if you were or are interesting, you'll make it interesting. And use a strong, so the second one is use a strong show opening or a monologue when you do come on for your first thing. Don't waste it. Come in with personality, your personality. Be big, be big enough to be noticed. And yes, talk about the show that they can expect. Ideally, speak about what's coming up in the next half hour or so, but also take that opportunity to get acquainted with your listener and give them something as well. That's normally when I actually do this particular piece, which is called the Super Soul Sunday Moment, stolen from some opera, even, right? I just start off on something light. It's light enough to not have to be like a hardcore third degree interview or whatever it may be. It's not that. I could, if I wanted to, if I constructed it well enough, I could start that. But you always use that opportunity for being able to do a link, right? Say, okay, well, I'm going to do a link, and I'm going to give them something at every single link, right? Even if it's a really great big, like it's a well-bodied teaser, to the next content piece that is coming out. You can make that interesting by playing a small clip of the person that is coming in studio or is going to be on the line, or you're talking about this natural disaster or whatever. Right. Anyway, so be sure to do the following. Focus the topic, engage the audience by forming a question. So start giving out those rhetorical questions about what's coming up next, or again, what is it that you're going to introduce the show with, whatever it may be, right? State your own opinion and position on a talkable topic and explain your view through an example. Always, we have to use practicality in being able to really navigate our way through content, while we are on air. Really, I'm going to say that again. We have to use practicality. In other words, some kind of practical understanding, some practical observation, some practical and like connection with and practical advice. What I can keep going on, right? Sometimes the listener says, "Yeah, yeah, that's me. That's me. I do that." Do not read the entire prep sheet, please, because that's what's called prep. So I can prepare you for the show. You obviously, please always have your prep in front of you, and then talk quite candidly around all those points that you want to get across by being, again, what is the word I'm looking for? Concise. Yeah, concise is the word, and deliberate. So in other words, no, so wanting to do something deliberate, right? It's I want to do something. So I want to say these things, and these are the things that I want to say. Concise. One, two, three, four, five. Get out, right? Okay, never ever sound please like you're reading. Please, only when you say, listen, and I quote, here is a stat. Let me read this. Be very transparent about your performance on air. Never be boring. You could get so what is the definition of boring? It's obviously it's very biased. It's a biased opinion here. Like I could find, oh, I do find many things boring, and I'm sure you find them too. But maybe that's the subject matter, not so much the person that's actually talking about it. Yes, and are you going to say to me, no, sometimes it is the person, and definitely here in this case, we're talking about the person. Don't just be like this and kind of like this and talking about this and reading one thing after another and playing one voice note of another and saying thanks so much. I'm using the monotone kind of whatever as to a bit of an extreme. I do get that. But you've heard that before, right? It's a lazy presenter. Someone sounds tired, or someone that is one bored with the show, bored with the listener, and bored with the fact that they are on air. So then just leave, man. Just leave. And let me tell you, more often than not, right? They get fired anyway, as it is. I'm not saying being fired is always because you're such a terrible jock. I'm saying if you are a terrible jock, you will be fired. Right. Okay. Anyway, that's one of the reasons. Anyway. Okay, here we go. So if you start out great and they get bored and then get boring, get rid of the guests. For example, let's say now we're talking guests. Never look at ne Okay. It's easy to say this, but it is quite easy to manage this, right? So when we talk about guests, for example, coming in onto your show, you have to have what we call a pre-interview interview, which we'll cover later on in the year. And when we talk about interviews and stuff, right? So you're gonna phone this person up, like you've targeted three types of people. I'm saying, let's say they're all I'm just going to keep referring to wherever I am currently in the show and on air. So this week, I need a fitness professional, but I want what is it, a fitness feminista, right? With this ridiculously amazing friend who has started her business and her brand from literally from nothing, which is how brands like it start. But watching her do it over the past, I think it's been like since 2017 up to now. So it's quite a long time, right? And she's obviously on her own has managed to do so much, right? And people, one, love her like as a person, and when she does work with different brands and different initiatives, and she's got a slight hint of activism, health activism, in her branding as well. People absolutely, there's never been one bad thing that's been said about Candace, who is the woman I'm interviewing, and she is great. So she has this great personality. She knows exactly what she's talking about because, as you can see, there's a portfolio there, right? I'm saying that a history of only great things. She knows exactly what she's been doing. She's started I say 7 years. That's not how long she's been a trainer or been in fitness training for. She's been in training for I think like 20 years or whatever. Still going strong. Get someone that has credibility, one that people, your listeners gonna love. If I can see everyone else loves Candace, and I do too, then man, then she's gonna resonate well with the listeners as well. Right, okay, but also have someone that is gonna speak bombastically sometimes about something. So a bigger personality, like a really like a quite a loud mouth in a way, but in a good way. We want to hear from loudmouths. We're loudmouth, right? Anyway, manage to get the right person. Don't sit there at the end of the day. And I had a guest once. Yeah, I'll never forget this. Oh um it's not that I'm embarrassed of it. I felt so bad for her as well. So I interviewed Greenpeace. I'm sure you've heard of them, right? Greenpeace. I asked them, please come through. Won't you come tell us and bring us your digital person? I'm saying you're the person that deals with communication and digital. And I said, that's fine. I spoke to her as well. And she's lovely. She's great. But when she got on, and I said to her, don't do this, but she did it anyway. She had prepped so obviously you must send your interview guest the prep questions beforehand, like a base of prep questions so that they're not sidetracked. They're not like kind of like, taken, what is the word? No, not taken by, um, but taken by surprise. There we go. Oh, okay. I can't believe I remembered right. Taken by surprise. Anyway, and she was fine. It was great. She came on, she was so nervous. I'm not weird, she was so nervous, hey. And I asked her questions and she would only divert to the paper. So that is a mentality thing. She was thinking in her head, listen, I can't go wrong if I've got my prep, quote unquote, which is a good lesson for us, right? To have a prep with me and I can answer. But the thing is that she read everything out and you could actually even hear the more she spoke, like the more dry her mouth became, and you could hear it on air. And you can hear the quiver in the back of someone's throat as well. And I felt terrible for her and went off air. I said to her, listen, you need to relax, like for real. Just chill. You are the expert professional. And so you know what you're talking about. You do this every single day. But it didn't help. Unfortunately, it was a terrible interview only because of that one thing. She was speaking at people and not to people, which is exactly why we need to remember that, prep is one thing. I think I've said this before in the previous lecture, like you have to be a good presenter and prep well as well. With your guests, they need to be able to present well enough and be prepped well enough and know exactly more about their field, right? Than anyone else, including you do. Right. Don't care, don't take any calls just because they're there. So program director Alan Eisenson, right? So I think it's obviously more German or whatever it is. Eisenson, right? Eisenson. Okay, I'm gonna stop that one. Has rules for guests and callers. He says that guests and callers are simply tools for the host to use to make a better show. So he says, I would rather hear a strong on-air personality than boring callers and boring guests. So only use callers to enhance the show. In other words, use the ones that are going to help you continue telling your story stronger. So if you are talking about something in current affairs, make sure that they're not phoning and say, oh, I'm angry, and they close the phone. Angry because, like, why exactly? I have been affected by this for 5, 7 years, not just the past like 3 or 4 days that you're mentioning here, is going as a concrete kind of like commercial reason for this particular, I don't know, law or action or like parliamentary action has taken place. No, I've been in the gutter, man, with this hanging over my life as a torn umbrella, blah, blah. I'm going now into dramatics, right? But you understand, right? Put that person on, make sure they can talk and they have a good story to obviously move your own content along, right? Never put callers on that are going to repeat the same thing you've said or someone else said. Boring, 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 boring. Rather use one good caller than 10 bad callers, right? So the trick is a talk show host to get obviously the listeners off air. Once again, a pre-interview interview, right? And also before they say, oh, there's just one more thing before they start to loop around again, please. So the listeners are not looking to ruin your show, but they're saying like you are there, you're in control. Like let's say someone behind like a toll, at a ShopRite or a Checkers, or I always use them because we always think that we have so much difference. Something there's so much more differences between what we do in life and what, let's say, someone more in retail does, or let's say in service delivery or no, no, every one of us do service delivery, but like literal like petrol attendants and retailers and where you just like going there and well just punching in some numbers. Anyway, my point is right. Like you would not want like I don't. Uh, the teller is not going to allow you to just reach on over and just grab your own change, for example, not money, so not stealing, but for example, like the typing in, whatever it is, like, oh, we don't type in anymore. I'm so old. They scan this stuff, right? So they scan something and, you can't, now you're not going to go behind there and do that and take your own change. No, man. It's someone else's job. And we're like, what are you doing here? Exactly with us. When a listener does or is put on air, same as a guest as well, you have to control. Like it's your job to control. This is my studio. This is my on-air time. I'm in charge of it, should I say? and you need to take your cue from me, right? So number five, what if the interview or topic goes wrong? Well, it's just a simple thing. Here's my simple thing. You've prepped for it, right? Okay. You have a line, so a line of sight towards the end to what you want to get out of the interview. Many reasons why the interview can go wrong. One, the interview guest starts going ballistic, and you just say, okay, listen, like so we're going to try back, go back to what you're actually here for. Let me say, okay, if they don't want to do that, thanks so much, bye. Because I mean, what's so important about you, genuinely, in anyone, that's for anyone. And here's how that kind, because that sounds kind of like a bit rude and a bit what is it when looking at egotistical from our side, as if it's not that. It's like then they've already proved their point. We've had them on the show. They've said what they need to say, or they thought they needed to say, but we've proven a point of they've said that this is the way this person is reacting, right? Another way is, for example, like within a topic I'm saying to you, right? It starts going nowhere, right? If you're getting the desired response, perhaps not getting, sorry, you're getting no response, right? There's a reason for that. 10 to 1, 10 to 1, right? Not always. 10 to 1, that those listeners don't actually care. So when you move on, they'll be like, good, like, let's just leave that, you know? But also, there's many things. Oh, I can't go on about everything anyway. But like, if you by mistake or if you unintentionally like worded something incorrectly, it sounds like you're offending someone or you're attacking someone. You're not meaning to say that, but then rather take a step back and say, well, if I don't mean to do it, then stop doing it as well. Okay, you can change your mind because you're a human being. So throughout an experience with listeners, throughout listening to different pieces that you have played, also that you have prepped and there's facts sort of coming in as you're doing this particular piece of an hour, guests coming in, shedding some more light. It's okay. Like for you to say, oh, I never thought of it that way. I now see maybe not the whole. I maybe don't agree or holistically with what it is that you're saying, but or this particular situation because one needs to know that and also by saying that and being so flip floppy or whatever it may be, right? It shows that you take things at surface level, but you can use insight if you are or have been helped to gain some insight on a specific on a particular something, right? So do not stick your guns. Do not stick to your guns if you find you're wrong. Remember to always tell the truth and don't be afraid to admit if you don't know something. You're not expected to have all the facts, of course, but please, you should have quite a few to be able to talk quite again, confidently about something, and also you're relaying information to a listener who believes you, right? Okay. So take a risk on the air. In other words, do push a boundary, because that's what boundaries are there for, to keep you in, but also just kind of like nudge it. Push, something new, push an interview, push a line of questioning, push different ways that we can produce content push kind of the format of your station, push to reach out further into your community, more taboo stuff that's hidden, stuff that's uncomfortable to talk about, whatever it may be, right? Sometimes you head into a dangerous zone with a comment, view, question, or decision that you made. You make about what's going on air, right, or what goes on air. Understand not everything you say will be popular, but also if you made a good point, stick to it, right? So a lot of what you can get away with depends on your relationship with management, right? But really also your relationship with that listener. Management is one thing. Yes, you can always deal with management to a certain extent. I'm not discarding the importance. But the thing is, like, if you believe, not, no, remember now, also, what feeling is driving you to say what is on air? If it's something that's been gnawing at you the whole week, 10 to 1, it's maybe not the best idea. It might be something that's really personal. to go on air and just flush it out, because now you're going on a soapbox. The soapbox is the station or frequency, the mic, and now you're executing what I call in the seven deadly sins wrath. Okay, so proven personalities can get away with much more than unproven talent or new arrivals. In other words, when they do trust you, so we spoke about this in the last lesson, right? You get to a point where they do trust you, the listeners, right? They will be more open, just like you would in real life, right? You would be more open to someone that you do trust, that you do know, their quirks, that you know their strengths, weaknesses, you know how important they are in your life, you know about how important the points are that the two of you make in conversation, in building your relationship. So you will listen to them, right? Same thing on air. So if you're getting into a controversial gray area, consult with your bosses, or even if your station does have a lawyer, which let's say commercial stations have a legal team, go there and say, listen, I really want to do this. It's worth doing it. And you're thinking like in your head, does it really even go that far? Like a good presenter will, There's this great, so there's this great series called The Newsroom. It came out a long time ago. It's only three seasons, right? You must go watch it. If you are a journalist, like you and we all are, right, in different aspects, saying if we work in media, right, you must go watch this. And then you really marvel at the amount of work that goes into one night show of this particular. This is obviously like it's a what's it, fiction, right? On a fictional story about this particular channel, this particular station on air, TV station, and this is why a lot of work goes into what they do. Must watch it. So good, very high end, kind of very well written. So you need to have some patience, some strength, some crack, to sit there and watch it, but it's worth it. You'll actually see and be like, oh, I'm so glad I'm part of media because this is what I do in one extent to another, right? Anyway, Number 8, use your off switch, please. So, from the wisdom consultant Jay Albright, master the use of the most difficult piece of equipment in the control room, the off switch on your microphone, right? You have to stop talking. And then I laugh slightly because it's not that I can't do it. It's I insist on speaking more than I should, and I shouldn't. I know exactly how to speak less, and there's something in me that most of the time just says, "Ah, one more sentence." It's a good sentence. I don't talk rubbish on air, but I've got a lot to say, and that's fine. Like, then say it in a podcast, Chris, and shut up. Right, okay. Well, practice moderation. Learn to recognize when a bit is over and then stop talking at that point. The day you wish you'd stay in bed, so not every show will be your best show, right? And they always will say to you, you're only as good as your last show, which is it's a bit demotivating, but it's true, right? You're only as good as your last link. You're only as good as your last show. Even your favorite personalities have had terrible days and ongoing days. So if you didn't have a good show, was it because you weren't focused enough? When you were tired, like um, were you sick? That's a big thing as well. Like, why are you trying to do a show when you are really ill? I'm saying if you're a little ill, now you must fight through it, man. Just go there. Look, if you're having a fight with someone outside your work, or you're having mental issues, I'm not saying I'm not brushing them off, but they're not important because here's what you need to remember. Like when you go into a studio, you need to leave all the baggage at the door because one, you want to do a good show, but two, you're doing a good show for your customer, which is your listener, right? And that is very easy. It's not difficult to leave at the door. See the studio as a space of being able to kind of like just break away from escape those types of you know problems or pressures in your life. Now, I'm not. Now, having said that, if you are, let's say, going through a divorce or a breakup, or maybe being abused or whatever it is, you need to not be on air. because these are big things that are affecting you very strongly and deeply within your mental conscious, right? So you need to say to your manager, listen, I can tell you somewhat of my situation, but I need to take off, let's say 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it may be, right? Okay, if you can fix it, fix it. Don't dwell on it. Just move on, right? So, 10, treat the staff that you work with respectfully. Very important, right? So, and this is and not just because it's human, so it's human ethics, like human kindness, and you should do that, right? One person to another, one corporate professional to another. Do not come into a station thinking like there's some or other reason that people should care about what you feel, you know? And by that, I'm saying like throwing your personality around. I'm not talking as an omnipresenter. Anybody at any workspace or place is not allowed. You're not allotted to bring your personality and make that a part of what people need to expect. Sorry, not expect and maybe accept. So if you are a rude person, I don't care. Leave it. Be rude to your mom, man. Don't be rude to me. Now come and do your job if you're and say what you need to say and go away, man. Like if you are a poisonous, toxic human being, then good for you, but not good for me. Right. So really just make sure that you are not that person. Also, when you see people around you like that, just make it very clear that this is this place right here for both of us. Yeah. It's a two-way communication, right? I'm not going to around the world backsnap because I'm just a bit too tired to do that right now. But at this point, oh, Chris is going to do it around the world and back. Snap. Right. No, thank you. Anyway, let's get into some formatics. Okay, so I think that went well. I'm saying that was a good explanation for 10. There's 10 points. Formatics are the way that we do things, right? It's the basics, the formatics. There isn't such a word that you can see. Like, so we made this up, and I genuinely think we made this up um back at Tux. I don't think we've ever heard someone say it. And right now here, this has been the word I don't even think is in your book, man. I'll buy if it's in your book. Then I'm going to claim, now we're just claiming our words and not our own. Formatics is not a word. It's nowhere in the dictionary. It's nowhere in polite conversation. Anyway, sidebar. Okay, formatics are the way we refer to the way we navigate the base principles of radio through the format of radio. It's not the format of radio station, but the format of radio, right? Okay, so it's easy to get existing listeners to spend more time with you than to recruit entirely new listeners. So I want to be able to feed on the fact that we have these people that are really dedicated to us, because of, and then question mark, and we're going to find what the question mark, the what fills in that question mark or answers that question mark, and then make sure that we capitalize on it. Right. Okay. So you're pushing on an open door. So because you've already got their attention, why not go and push, go straight through their door and go into their living room and go into the kitchen and, go into sit down and have a quote unquote metaphorical braai with them, right? A meal. How much more? Millet suggests that you set your target. So 5 more minutes we are too busy dropping kids off, juggling phone calls, checking messages. The mental multitasking is at its all-time high. I'm saying here, right now, I'm saying in this world that we live in. What is that all about? It's like 5 minutes for what? 5 more minutes. Invite, don't tease, and invite like you mean it. So tell them, listen, come, listen to this. Yes. We say tease. Now she's saying just tease harder. Like tease like you mean it, right? All right. Invite a mere 5 minutes here. Tell them what's going to happen in the next 15 minutes, the next segment to come out. Like a magician, don't do the full reveal. Invite with a hook. Invite frequently and say you might want to leave us now, but you can say this at the top of the hour. Invite across the news, promote what we're about to learn. Even throughout an interview or piece, make sure that you recap in the middle. Because someone's joined in the middle of that piece and just say there, or even someone that has been listening, has been getting into the conversation. If it's a good one, make sure that you kind of just touch base with them and say, oh, yeah, like this is whatever station I am. And currently in studio, we are busy doing this, right? As you change topics or switch to someone or something new, invite the audience to stay, right? By saying it's going to be really good, but then promise them something you can deliver. As you go into a song, invite them to stay tuned afterwards, obviously prior to the guest. Invite the audience to listen in or um join in. Okay. So in other words, you're making an appointment. You're saying, listen, at 35 past today, and stick to it, please. Right. 35 past this hour, I'm having an interview with this specific person, and they're gonna say this and this and this. So that they know, okay, when that comes along, they've made an appointment because they want to listen to it. Do not go 10 minutes later, please. They're like a minute or two later is fine because of the length of music or like there's always something that can draw it draw it a little bit sooner or draw it a little bit later, right? Push it a little bit later, right? Appointment listening increases the station's ratings. So pick a single show highlight, not a menu of options, and give the listener the time they can to hear that particular piece, right? They can attend that appointment, right? Pitch up for it, right? So you're invited. It's important that listeners feel that they can join in at any time and are always invited into your program. So when you are teasing that on the net or there is a kind of a donor promo that's going out, make sure, and obviously within the show itself, let them know. Come on in whenever you want. You don't have to come in at 3 or you don't have to come in at 4 or 5 or 6 or half past 5 or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Come in. Well, at any time you want to come in. Keyword is want. I'd love to have you. Make them feel welcome when they join in the middle of a show. Show them that the show is easily accessible. You at any one point you haven't missed. Say you missed something, but you haven't missed anything. I'm saying there's more to come. Invite the listener by saying jump on in the water is fine. Don't say that, it's very corny, but you know what I mean, right? All right, overcoming resistance. So let's go through some points. The reason that many on-air personalities do not believe formatics are important is because they already know who they are and where they work. Okay, it becomes boring to them to repeat their names and the station dial position, so its frequency and call letter like a tagline, right? So if the talent does not understand the absolute importance of formatics, they will not be a priority. In other words, like, so what you must say the station's name. You have to say it. Even again, it's about branding, right? And it's about, and we have to push our tagline. We have to push, let's say, formatics for songs and whatever it is. Like, the basics are there for a reason, right? And no research otherwise has proven for them not to be, right? So if the target does not understand the absolute, sorry, man, that's on the target talent. Anyway, ask talent to imagine that someone heard their show in a taxi and couldn't listen at home, but because they couldn't remember the station's dial position and call letter, say it. Not the best example. My example is much better. This is brand identity, brand kind of like a reconnaissance at the end of the day. You want to keep saying it, even though through every single jingle that is being played, the station's frequency is said, or the station's name is being said, the show's name is being said. Yes, you don't have to like literally play a jingle and then say the station's name. That makes no sense, right? Okay, but make sure that the basics are there. The audience has a short attention span. And yeah, I suppose, yeah, they do, but I'm quite sure that you have a memory problem if you have tuned into a certain station. Now, all of a sudden, they can't remember that. And maybe you might have forgotten who's on air or not noticed, like I'm saying, who they're chatting to. That's different, right? But I don't think you'd forget the show. I'm saying the station you've actually willingly turned on, right, or tuned into. Every 15 minutes, hammer home your name is show, the name of the station, the call letters, and the dial position. Once again, your tagline and the frequency. Okay. All right, talk radio formatics. So never let the listener feel the format in talk. So once again, just kind of really kind of snake through that slither your way through the slickness of how talk radio can just go on and on and on and on. Just like music radio, it mustn't seem like it's abrupt. Here's something, then there's something, then boom, here's something. Then people are kind of like, oh, enough with the booms, you know? It's got to flow, right? Only mention the clock if it is beneficial to the listener. In specifically talk, your audience should never feel your format. They should simply feel that they are spending time with you. Don't remind them that you're taking a commercial break. The structure is for you and for not, and sorry, and not for the audience. So the structure, right? And that's a heavy statement. Sorry, that's a heavily loaded statement to make, right? The structure is for the listener, but the structure, because it affects them, right? So the structure, like for you to be able to move along swiftly, like I said, like slither on like a snake, right? You need, please, to apply a lot of obviously structure, a lot of like, it's like your prep will literally say 7 minutes at 7 o'clock, 19 minutes, maybe not seconds. That's a bit ridiculous. I'm saying within prep, not within clockwork, right? So us drawing us up clocks. But yes, like very, very particular. I don't know why it's not a special to talk. I do that in my prep, right? And a lot, and many other presenters, because I know what other presenters do and not do, right? Okay. Other presenters will also prep accordingly, right? All right, so here are some tips for radio formatics. Open the hour with your name, the time, and the call letter, right? Please remember this because it does like this comes somewhere in one of your formatives. So please remember this, right? Do some short opening comments. So if you have any that day, which may or may not be the main topic, launch into your own monologue, which we call the churn, right? In talk. So engage the audience with your opinion, your position, and obviously storytelling to give them again. Once again, it doesn't sound much, a lot more differently, different to, should I say, there's my English, right, to music radio, but we have a slightly longer liberty, right, in terms of how much we can say in talk radio, right? All right. Anyway, so ask the question. This is your tightly focused topic. You could give obviously out the phone number, take a break using proper formatics, like saying up next instead of take a break. Do not ever say we're going to a break, please. You're literally telling someone you may tune out for a certain amount of time. Open the floodgates to the phones after the first break and reset the topic by asking the question again. In other words, recapping, right? So, tips from consultant Tommy Kramer, be sensitive to repetition. So make sure that you are very wary about words that you can't keep saying, crutch words, even statements that you have made, and ring cycling and repeating. The listeners want consistency, but not predictability. So repetition can bring down talent as management. Keep the talent energized by pointing out obviously some good examples that have happened in the show and also some bad ones, please. Right, Tommy Kramer coaching in his handbook is so that in within the Tommy Kramer coaching handbook, right, it says the following. Pull the listener into the radio with you. Don't say it is 72 degrees out there. That means you're not with the listener, right? So rather say where we are really sweating it with 72 degrees. You won't be alive with 72 degrees anyways. But yeah, okay. If you are alive, you're alive enough to tell it and say it, right? Right, solve the benefits. So does it lift my mood? Does it make my driver easier? That makes no sense. So does it make my drive easier? Right. So use real language. Talk on the or talk on the air like you would obviously to any normal person. Just uplift your so I'm saying just like clean it up, make it a little bit more like add a little bit of sparkle to it. You know, you are a entertainer after all, right? Just clean it up, like I say, as I said, please. Connect with the listener and tell the listener, don't read to them, please. Like, tell the listener what you want to say. Talk to them once again. Make the story colorful and use vast vocab if you have to be able to make it really interesting, a nice, cool listening experience, right? So if you really want to use certain keywords, specifically, I would say in this context, like terminology that is confusing, that you do need to use and is important for subject matter, use that, please. So the rule of one, so one content piece on all items per talk break. Please not two. In other words, don't talk about a competition and a content piece at the same time. Hit the target. So draw to a specific profile of your listener, complete with a picture if possible. Speak to the one target listener every time the mic switches on. Some more, we're nearly done here, right? Promote ahead, promote anything of benefit coming up on your show. You know that. Don't tell the listener what to think. It's irritating. Rather, give them more information, right? That's the whole point that you should be of you being there. Give them more information, like make them want to think what they make them want to think more knowledgeably or more powerfully or more impactfully, right? Sell the dream first before you give the information. So sell the sizzle, not the steak, but be descriptive. The word sizzle, what a word. Anyway, not the steak. All right, but anyway, so you know, please tease well enough, right? Okay, so have a roadmap. Know how you are starting and have a destination in mind. So know how you are ending because that's going to define how you begin. Please just move from one important thing to another. Don't waste time. And how to edit phone calls. Please, like keep the unnecessary people off air, right? And the unnecessary parts. In other words, have a conversation with the person off air and say, and then find out, oh, okay, maybe I only want to go in at this point where he speaks about the first lesson that he learned from his mother, right? Okay. So more formatics for callers, identifying the name, the place, and after they make their point, they get a brief and sincere acknowledgement of their call. So tell us, this is Chris, he's phoning us from Wonderboom or whatever it is, I don't know, right? Whatever. But mention the place, right? Reset the stage, adopt an egg timer attitude. You know, I just like I haven't heard someone say that in such a long time. It's so nice. Acknowledge, this is someone here, and then from this part of our feeder area. Come now. Oh, anyway, radio these days. Anyway. Reset the stage, adopt an egg timer attitude, and every couple of minutes, briefly reset the stage for anyone who may just be joining the show. So break the habit of taking a break. Do not use the word break, please, on my word. All right, okay. The audience will think that they can also take a break from the station. In other words, they will leave the station if you say, let's go pay the bills. Let's go. We're gonna play an ad now, and I'll see you all later. That sounds like you're gonna see me an hour from now. Oh no. Anyway, don't panic if you need a moment. The fear of dead air can provoke meaningless manic episodes they'll actually lose your audience. So pause, just take a breather, right? Last slide, yeah. Before each break, remember to tease what is coming up or reset your talk topic. Involve your audience, so use a cliffhanger to keep them coming back for more. So again, teaser, right? We're going to coming up next. We are right after break. Please, your name, dial position, topic, kind of recap that as to what's going on in a fresh new way, phone number, and a time check then as well. For homework for this particular lesson, students have to copy, write, and script, produce, voice, engineer, and mix 30 seconds, a 30-second ad against gender-based violence. Next class, well, I would like that, but this week is online. Please do it for yourself, right? You'll play, or we're going to play your 30-second GBV ad. Please remind me if you have done this. I'd love to listen to yours, right? Next class, well, we'll get into that in just a moment. I'm going to stop the share there. All right. Hope you enjoyed or learned something. I'll see you in the next one.